this is Jennifer Martinez, and today I'm going to give you the solution to the following word problem. The best way to conquer a word problem is to actually read through the problem first. So let's go ahead and do that. A mom wants to invest $13,000 in her child's education. A portion of the money is invested in a CD account, which earns 4% interest, and the remainder is invested in a savings account bond or a savings bond that earns 7% interest. If the total interest after 1 year is $780, how much money is invested at each rate? There are 3 common word problems using formulas throughout intermediate algebra. The first one is on interest, the second one is motion, and the third is mixture. Today, we're going to only talk about the first one, interest. In future videos, you will see the motion and the mixture problem. The interest formula is I equals PRT. I represents the interest, or the amount that you earn. P represents the principal, the amount that you put in, or the amount invested. R represents the interest rate. T represents the time in years. When conquering one of these word problems, you have 4 variables. So the best thing to do is to make a chart when dealing with either interest, motion, or mixture. So that is what I'm going to do next. The first row of my chart will always have the variables found in the formula. The P, the R, and the T, which is on the right hand side of the formula. The last column will be reserved for the variable that is a loan. So we have 2 accounts, the CD and the savings bond. And the first thing we're going to do is try to fill in from the words the first 3 columns. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start with the rate. In the CD, it says the rate is 4%. So I'm going to change that to 0.004, which is the decimal representation. And the same thing for the savings bond, that's 7%, or 0.07. The next thing is the time, and it says that it's 1 year. So I'm going to put the time in the time column, and both of those are a 1. Finally, the principal, or the amount invested. That is what they are asking for. How much money was invested at each rate? So that is where my unknown is. So that is where my variable is going to be. And we can put our variable in the first row or the second. So I'm going to randomly just choose the first. I'm going to choose X to be the amount invested in the CD. Our next goal is to figure out an expression for the amount invested in the savings. And I'm going to use the $13,000 for that, because there's $13,000 total. So if there's X in the CD, there would be $13,000 minus X in the savings. That does make sense, because by the way, if there was $3,000 in the CD, $3,000, there would be $13,000 minus $3,000, which is $10,000 in the savings. $3,000 in the CD, $10,000 in the savings would be a total of $13,000. So it makes sense if there's X in the savings, $13,000 minus X would be in the savings. Actually, X in the CD. But anyway, that's how you find the expression for the amount of each. And you can switch it if you want. To do the last column, how to figure out the last column always in the 3 formulas used, is you're going to multiply these using the formula, the rows. I represents interest, and since we know I equals PRT, if we take the principal, which is X, and multiply by the rate, which is multiplied by the time, 1 times anything is just 0.04 times 1 is just 0.04. So we have 0.04 times X would be the expression that goes for the interest in the CD. The same thing multiplying everything in the second row, we get 0.07 parentheses 13,000 minus x. Finally, we want to come up with the equation. And now the equation is doable because we have an expression for the interest in each account. So we know that after 1 year, the only number that we didn't use is the $780. That is the total interest earned. So if I take the interest earned in the CD, which by the way, we have the expression for, it's 0.04x, and I add that to the interest earned in the savings, which is 0.07, 13,000 minus x, that's going to be equal to the total interest. And that is your equation. Again, the interest in the CD plus the interest in the savings must be the total interest, correct? So the interest in the CD is our first term, 0.04x. The interest in the savings is that expression, which is 0.07 parentheses 13 minus x, and that is equal to the total interest. Finally, we're going to solve this. To solve this first, I need to distribute the 0.07, get rid of the parentheses, so that would be 910 minus 0.07x. Next, I need to combine like terms. So we're going to have negative 0.07, 3.04 minus 0.07, x plus 910 equals 780. Next, we're going to subtract the 910 from both sides to get negative 130. So we now have negative 0.03x equals negative 130. Finally, we're going to divide both sides by negative 0.03 to get x equals $4,333.33. And that x is the amount of money in the CD, or I should say amount invested in CD. Finally, they did ask for them how much money is in each account at each rate. So we need to find out how much is in the savings. And to do that, we're going to use 13,000 minus x. Plugging in the $4,333.33, you get $8,666.67. And that is the amount that is in the savings. So we have solved the interest problem. That is it. Hope that helps.